The shuttle descended through the violet clouds that wrapped the capital city of the Serethi Dominion, and the guards assembled on the landing deck stood in formation as the vessel touched down with a metallic hum. The order had gone out across the human sectors that one representative was required to assist with a delicate diplomatic matter, and no one expected the assignment to fall to a low-ranking outpost guard named Mark. When his commanding officer handed him the sealed document, he only nodded and followed the instructions, because that had always been his way. He did not dispute orders, and he did not ask why he was selected while others with more experience were passed over. He only packed his standard gear and boarded the shuttle without a word. Inside the capital, the atmosphere was tense. The Serethi were known for their proud traditions and unwavering composure, but the mood of the palace corridors shifted the moment the shuttle was announced. Whispers spread between the attendants and the elite guard unit known as the Silver Circle. The Queen had summoned them all, yet she had not explained her purpose. She only said she needed a human who displayed steady discipline and a calm presence, and somehow that description had led them to Mark, even though none of the Serethi knew his name yet. When the shuttle doors opened, Mark stepped out and looked across the landing platform. The towers of the city rose like spears of crystal, illuminated by the gentle shimmer of their internal veins. He had seen images, but none captured how the structures breathed with an inner flow that resembled living stone. A Serethi officer approached and examined him from head to toe before offering a gesture of welcome. Mark nodded once. He followed without speaking, and they guided him through the palace gates toward the throne chamber. Inside the great hall, the air smelled faintly of silver blossoms. Serethi banners hung from the ceiling, and each one depicted the crest of the royal line. The elite guards aligned along the walls watched quietly as Mark approached. Near the center stood the Queen. Her posture was poised, yet there was something else beneath the surface. A tension that the guards recognized, but did not understand. When she lifted her eyes toward the advancing human, she froze. The attendants saw her lips part. Her breath halted as if a memory had seized her with an unbreakable grip. Mark stopped at the respectful distance he was instructed to observe, but confusion passed through him when he noticed her expression. He had expected formality and measured protocol, yet she looked at him with a kind of shock. The Queen stepped down from the dais slowly. Her cloak shimmered with the encoded symbols of lineage and honor. She moved as if she were approaching a ghost. Her voice trembled when she finally spoke. She addressed him by his rank, but her eyes did not focus on the present. They drifted between what was real and what she remembered. Mark replied with a steady tone. He stated his name and purpose with military precision. The Queen listened, but did not release him from her gaze. To the attendants, it became clear that something about his appearance had shattered her composure. They had served her for years, and none could recall a moment when she hesitated in front of anyone. Yet now she stood only a few steps away from a single human guard, as if struck by an emotional force no one anticipated. One of the Silver Circle moved forward to speak, but the Queen raised her hand. Her voice softened as she asked Mark to follow her to a private chamber. The guards exchanged uneasy glances, because such informality was unheard of, but they obeyed her command. Mark followed without question, though he sensed the weight of every step. The chamber was small compared to the throne hall. It held a single window overlooking the glowing city and a series of intricately carved panels that depicted the history of the Serethi royal line. The Queen dismissed the attendants and waited until the doors closed behind them. Then she turned toward Mark with a gaze filled with sorrow and disbelief. She explained that long ago, the Serethi had engaged in a joint mission with a human exploration unit. During the mission, her bonded partner, a figure of great significance in her culture, had perished while protecting both crews. She carried the memory of his last moments, and the face of the one she lost remained etched into her heart. When she saw Mark step off the shuttle, she felt as if time had recoiled, because he resembled her lost partner with impossible accuracy. Mark listened quietly. He did not know what to say, because he lacked the words to address the depth of loss displayed before him. He only understood that his presence had opened an old wound. He apologized and said he had no connection to the one she remembered. She acknowledged it, but her expression did not change. She said she knew logically that he was not the same person, yet the resemblance struck her with a force. She could not ignore Dot. She then explained the true reason he had been summoned. The Dominion faced internal division. Several factions questioned the Queen's leadership after the loss of her partner, because the bond between rulers and their consorts held deep cultural significance. Some believed the royal line carried a curse, because every ruler who lost a partner faced destabilization within the Dominion. A few of the factions sought to weaken her authority by claiming she had become emotionally compromised. The glimpses of her grief gave them ammunition, and they spread doubts among the citizens. She told Mark that she needed his assistance, not for battle, but for presence. A neutral outsider, a calm figure unconnected to internal politics. He was chosen because his personnel record displayed unwavering composure under stress. She believed his presence would help her navigate the upcoming negotiations between rival factions. The resemblance to her lost partner had been unknown to her until the moment she saw him. She admitted that it startled her, but she assured him that she would not let personal emotions influence her decisions. Mark accepted the assignment with a nod. His manner remained steady, yet he sensed the weight carried by the Queen. He felt a quiet respect for her because she ruled a vast and complex dominion while battling grief that the public did not fully understand. He did not know the details of her culture, but he recognized the universal pain of losing someone deeply important. Over the next several days, Mark accompanied her during each council session. The architecture of the council chamber resembled a circular gallery of luminous stone set ablaze by internal energy currents that responded to motion and sound. The Serethi council members observed him carefully. Some regarded him with curiosity, and others with suspicion. They questioned why a human was present in matters of Serethi governance. The Queen answered that he served as a neutral witness to prevent misrepresentation of her words. Some accepted this explanation. Others did not. One faction leader spoke with agitation. He claimed that the Queen sought emotional support from an outsider because she could not handle the responsibilities of the throne. The accusation hung in the air like a toxin. Mark remained silent, yet he felt the tension rising. The Queen responded with calm authority. She explained that her decisions were guided by logic and tradition. She said she would not allow personal grief to undermine the Dominion. She reminded them that cooperation with humanity had saved countless Serethi lives. Her voice held steady, though Mark sensed the fragile balance within her Dot as the sessions continued. Mark noticed shifts in the factional behavior. The Queen's composure strengthened, and the council members began to see that her command had not faltered. She spoke with clarity and conviction. Her strategic proposals for resource management and defense realignment displayed mastery of their current geopolitical challenges. Slowly the voices of dissent grew quieter, though not entirely silent. One evening after a particularly tense session, the Queen asked Mark to walk with her through the garden suspended above the palace. The sky glowed with cascading streaks of lavender light carried on thinning clouds. The city hum resonated quietly below them. She said the resemblance he bore to her lost partner had troubled her deeply, but she recognized that fate did not bring him to replace the one she lost. She said that his steadiness helped her regain clarity during the council sessions, and she thanked him for it. Mark replied that he did nothing special. He only followed his orders and maintained the discipline expected of him. She responded that his presence alone served as a stabilizing force. She said that the Dominion needed a reminder that calm still existed even during emotional storms. She expressed gratitude not as a ruler, but as someone who carried grief yet refused to be consumed by it. The following days brought further challenges as the faction leaders attempted one final maneuver to undermine the Queen's authority. They produced a document forged to imply that she sought to relinquish control of several border territories. The accusation spread rapidly among the public. Tension rose throughout the city. Crowds gathered outside the palace demanding answers. The false document threatened to fracture the Dominion. Mark was present when the Queen confronted the council with the forged evidence. She presented the original archives to disprove the claim. Her voice remained steady, though the atmosphere burned with tension. When the faction leader responsible for the forgery attempted to twist the narrative, Mark stepped forward. He spoke not as a political figure, but as an eyewitness. He confirmed that the Queen had never suggested such a concession. He testified that every discussion he witnessed emphasized the stability and defense of Serethi territory. The council members listened closely because Mark had no reason to manipulate their politics. His neutrality made his testimony powerful. The leader who presented the forged document could not refute the evidence, and the council condemned the deception. The Dominion guards removed him from the chamber, and the remaining members reaffirmed their support for the Queen. After the session ended, the Queen stood in silence for several moments. The pressure of the past weeks weighed on her, yet the air around her felt lighter than before. She turned to Mark and said that his presence had helped her hold the Dominion together in a moment of great vulnerability. She said that his composure had helped remind her that strength was not only found in traditions, but also in the quiet steadiness of those who stood beside her. The time came for Mark to return to human space. The Queen met him on the landing platform as the shuttle engines powered up. She looked at him without the earlier shock. The ghost of memory no longer clouded her eyes. She said that though he resembled the one she had lost, he was his own person, distinct, steady, reliable. She said that she would remember him not as a reminder of grief, but as a symbol of resilience. Mark nodded with his calm expression. He saluted her in human tradition. She responded with the Serethi gesture of respect. When he boarded the shuttle, he looked once more through the closing ramp door and saw the Queen standing tall under the violet sky. Her posture held renewed strength. The resemblance that once overwhelmed her now felt like a bridge between two cultures rather than a wound knot. As the shuttle ascended above the crystalline towers, Mark reflected on his assignment. He had not fought any battles or achieved heroic feats. He had simply stood beside a ruler in a moment of crisis. Yet he understood that sometimes resilience required quiet presence more than grand action. He carried that understanding with him as the shuttle crossed the boundary of the Dominion. Far below, the Queen returned to the palace. The city lights shimmered along the curved pathways like constellations come to rest upon the land. The Dominion remained intact. The factions lost their momentum. The people regained confidence in their Queen. She stood at the balcony of her chamber and breathed deeply. She felt the steady rhythm of a future rebuilt from the edge of uncertainty. Though she had lost her partner long ago, she discovered that grief did not define her destiny. She had faced the echoes of the past and remained unbroken. She whispered a silent farewell to the memory that once anchored her sorrow and embraced the clarity she now held. The human guard who resembled her lost love had not replaced the one she mourned, but he had helped her rise above the shadow of fear. And in that truth she found peace. The Dominion moved forward under her leadership. Diplomats from the human sectors arrived with renewed admiration, and collaboration strengthened between the species. The Queen guided her people with calm authority, and the legacy of the past became a story of endurance rather than lost. In time, the tale of the human guard who aided the queen became a quiet legend among the Seraphi, not because of valor in battle, but because of the strength found in steadiness. A reminder that sometimes the right presence at the right moment could mend what grief tried to break. And the queen carried that truth within her for the rest of her days as she led her Dominion into a future shaped by hope rather than sorrow.